Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be doing a set on the red iguana practice hand. So in my last video, I did the unboxing and the first impressions of seeing the hand for the first time. And so today I'm actually going to be physically using the hand. If you wanted to know what those impressions were and you wanted to see the unboxing, go ahead and take a look at my last video and let me know what you think. Also for today's video, this video is not sponsored, so all of the products that I will be using in this video, I have purchased on my own. And I did want to let you guys know that I'm also doing a 14 days of Valentine's Day. So I will be posting one video a day of a Valentine's set, of me doing a Valentine's set. So if you have any ideas or anything that you want to see for Valentine's Day, go ahead and leave a comment in the description. As always, please like this video, share this video, and if you're not already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on my journey. Let's get into the video.
Okay, so at this point, this was the exact moment that I realized I forgot to press start to record. So the white portion on this that you see, that is the tips that came with the red iguana hand. I used my mandrel Brit that I just got off of Amazon, my Profiles Backstage purple sanding bands, and my universal tips from Not Polish to get the hand started. And then I used the OPI Bond-Aid and the Young Nails Pro Team Bond to prep that nail. I was planning on doing an ombre set, so I did actually take my sanding band after I glued the tips on and went back through to kind of just smooth that over. But then I changed my mind. So you don't have to go through and blend in your tips when you are doing one color. But if you are going to do an ombre, I would suggest blending tips to that natural nail plate for a better finished look. Okay, so with this set, I'm going to be using the Valentino Pure Beauty acrylic system, and I chose the color Blossom because it is absolutely the cutest color that I've ever seen ever. And so I'm just going to go in with that, and I'm going to do the full set in that color. Okay, so the brush that I am using is the Young Nails Craig brush number 12. This is my absolute favorite brush, especially with getting up in that cuticle area. The point to this brush is so fine. It makes that cuticle application so much easier, but I also do have the number 12 from Profiles Backstage, Sculpt It Like It's Hot, and that brush is also amazing, and I would say that that is considered a dupe for this brush. It is a little bit bigger, so when you are working on longer nails like this, the Profiles Backstage brush is absolutely amazing for this as well. But I really like for these skinnier nails like this, and then like I said, up in that cuticle area, this Young Nails brush is my fave and it is my go-to. Okay, so as I got started on this portion, I realized I get a lot of questions, or I guess the same question asked a lot of times about how many beads I like to use. I don't really focus on the amount of beads. I kind of just go in with a bead and, go from there to figure out how many beads I actually want to do. I done messed it up there for a second, but don't worry. It comes together and it ends up looking really nice. But I don't really focus on the amount of beads. I just do the nail and bead by bead. And if I feel like I need to add another bead, then I would. If not, I will just continue going with where I'm at. So I don't really focus on the amount of beads. I want to focus on my foundation and my apex and the structure of my nail before I worry about how many beads I'm placing on there. As long as I'm doing it quickly and in a timely fashion, beads are not my number one priority. Also, I do want to mention whenever I pick up a bead, my first two beads are going to be my biggest beads, and I will dip my brush entirely into the monomer, and then I just wipe off from belly down. So I don't go from the top part of the brush down. I wipe from the belly down for those first two beads, which are my bigger beads. And then I also turn my brush around and kind of soak off a little bit more monomer especially if I pick it up and I see that my bead is still a little wetter than I like. I will kind of drain a little bit more of that monomer out. Also, I like working with a spongier, drier bead than I like to work with a super wet bead. I don't like chasing my acrylic around, so when I feel like I have too much monomer on there and I feel like I'm chasing the acrylic, I don't really like that. So I like to work with more of like a drier, stickier bead versus a wet bead. Okay, so I did want to mention the placement of my first bead. Typically, I will place my first bead right where that tip was glued onto the natural nail, especially for this length. Sometimes I will start below that depending on my bead size, but a lot of times I try to start right where that tip was glued on, and then I just work right over the top of it. This one at this moment started looking a little scary, but this is one of those things that I have to remind myself to trust the process. I just kept adding acrylic on there and continually building. Like, you build an acrylic. The bottom of that tip was giving me a hard time. One thing that I did notice, where I decided to place the stand, I needed to move it a little bit closer because I definitely was holding my brush not how I normally hold my brush. So towards the end it started getting a little more difficult, but that's because of me and where I decided to place my stand. So I will move that stand forward a little bit, but again, like I said, this is one of those trust the process moments. Okay, before I bring my file in to get those crisp edges, I like to separate the acrylic from the skin if there was at any point. Sometimes there's a little bit of residue that hangs out right there, so I like to push all that back first before I take my file in. And then at this point, you want to hold your file straight when you're getting into those side walls, and then straight again underneath, just to kind of sharpen up that shape a little bit. I like to work from side to side, so I'll keep my file going straight for all the fingers and then keep my file going straight on the opposite side, all of the fingers. And then again, here I'm just fixing that shape and making them look real crispy. Okay, once I get my side walls nice and tight, I did this little guy last because he was still a little wet, or she was still a little wet. So once I get my sidewalls nice and tight, I like to go in and redefine that shape. We are going to make these babies sharp enough to open a package. Get rid of that dust, and then I'm actually going to go in with my 5-in-1 bit from Kiara Sky, and I will post that down below. I like to use this bit specifically for the cuticle area. It gets back in that cuticle area nice and tight and fine, those sidewalls and the cuticle area. I don't really use this for the overall nail. I kind of just like to focus on the cuticle area with this bit, and it does an amazing job around the cuticle area. Look how flush that makes the acrylic back there. Real quick, forgot to mention, I have my file set to 8 when I'm working around the cuticle area for this bit. I feel like 8 is a perfect speed for me. You don't want to go any lower than 6. I feel like that's too slow. And again, for me, working around that cuticle area, no higher than 12. 12 would get the job done just fine. 8 gets the job done good enough for me. So I use it at about an 8. Okay, so when I am using that cuticle bit, what I will do is go through all 10 fingers and take care of that cuticle area, and then I go into this medium fine bit, safety bit, and this is my balancing bit. So I kind of, again, just touch up on that cuticle area. I'm just blending and making sure it's flush, and then I will run this bit over the rest of the nail, going down and side to side, and this just balances the nail out really, really nicely. If you have any imperfections in the nail, this bit goes over it super nice. This specific bit in this video I got from my local beauty store, nail supply store, but I also have the Kiara Sky safety bit as well, and it balances just as good. I wanted to apologize for being out of frame here. I didn't realize that I pulled my hand off of the stand by trying to get my positioning correct, so I kind of was out of frame there for a second. The hand did come off, so I kind of just held it there and let my hand rest do the work. Okay, so the hand did start falling off of the stand, but that's because I kept trying to pull it forward to get closer to me. So I don't really have anything to complain about when it comes to the hand. So far, the only thing that I have noticed, and it might just be because it is new, when I am laying my acrylic, I like to kind of pull that finger downward so gravity helps work that bead. So it's kind of hard to pull the fingers downward, and again, positioning them and moving them out of the way so that I can get the acrylic laid or do my shaping and stuff is kind of a little bit difficult. So it might just be because the hand is new. This is my first time using it. So that is the only thing that I would have to say so far. Here I'm just going in with the mandrel bit that I got off of Amazon and those purple sanding bands from Profiles Backstage, and I'm kind of just fining over after that balancing work and just smoothing everything over before I get to the buffing. This purple buffer isn't any special buffer. It's just one that I got from my nail supply store. Sometimes I get purple, sometimes I get orange, but I did just get it at my local nail supply store. Whenever I'm working on a client, I like to turn their hand over and kind of line their fingers up cuticle to cuticle just to make sure all of the nails are going the same direction, they're all the same length, and they are all the same shape. At this point, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I was going to do an ombre. So I kind of sat here for a second trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I decided to do just some simple little pearls. So I am using the Gummy Jelly from Enail Couture and the Not Polished Top Coat. You may be looking at this like, what is this BZ doing? I learned a while ago, and I don't remember who I learned it from or if it was something that Enail Couture said to do. I think it was somewhere along those lines. But you place a glob of the glue, of the diamond glue, wherever you're going to be placing that. And then you do a super thin layer of top coat over the top of that. So as you noticed, I went in through the rest of the nail and I put the top coat on there as normal. But then when I got up to the jelly color, I just had a very light feather-like stroke over the top of this. That glue is going to cure with the top coat and you'll still have that super shiny. So you don't have to go back in with a top coat and try to move around the edges and stuff to make the entire nail shiny. And I promise you, the diamonds and jewels and whatever you use, they do stay. Okay, and I am using the Light Elegance dot for the light. I put that one on and I realized it was way bigger than the other one, so I took her off really quick and redid it. I also just use a dotting tool to put the glue on, and it works just fine. I haven't had any issues with it. I'm sure there's something out there to make my life easier, though, when it comes to applying the glue. The gummy jelly that I'm using for the diamonds is a 60-second cure, so make sure you leave it in the light for the full 60 seconds or you will have issues. Okay, and typically at this point, if I was working on a client, I wouldn't go through with my brush and get all the dust, but since she's silicone, dust hangs on. So I just went through and kind of just made it look nicer. And then I like to take my file and again, just crisp up those edges and make everything look nice. And this is the finished set. That is my Instagram, so go follow my Instagram and subscribe.